Yes.
No, we don't have Joe Tangery.
Who are we missing?
Well, from the board, I'm sorry, yes.
Oh, yeah,
all the
he
board
was going to
members
make
are
a
here, but
presentation, wasn't
yes.
he? Yeah.
So,
He may still come.
oh,
running a little
looks
late.
like we,
Okay. I call this meeting to order at 8 o'clock. Roll call. Everyone is here. Do we have, first of all, I would like to start with an apology from the last meeting. When we had our vote on the new officers and Bill was not nominated and Charlie was as the vice chair, I'm delighted that Charlie's our vice chair, but I didn't make a big point of thanking Bill for his many fabulous years, many more to come, of service to the DDA. Bill has been one of our best members. He won an award from you won 2 awards, I think, from the Main Street Association. And I just want you all to know how much his contributions have been and will continue to be appreciated by this board.
Well, thank you so much.
Well, you're welcome. And welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And welcome.
Thank you. And it's my fault for letting that all go too quickly, and I should have addressed it then, and I apologize for poor management of that election. Thank God it wasn't in Georgia. Okay. Do I have an approval for the consent agenda?
I will make that approval for the consent agenda, and I might also add the accounting, everything that is presented to us as far as our financials are concerned is stellar. It's professional. It's simple. It's long-awaited, and it's a shame. Well, some people can't even tell who isn't stellar or professional.
Anyway, we're very, very excited
But
about
I will make that a motion to approve.
Perfect. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. Joe's not here, right?
here, he's
Hey,
here.
Joe.
No. Skating in at the last minute is Joe from Giffords Webster. Are you ready?
Yeah, we wouldn't have left without seeing you, Joe.
And Joe has an update from Giffords Webster on the downtown master plan.
Sorry to just be walking in. I forgot that there was a partial road closure on northbound Coolidge Highway. So it was closed southbound for so long, and I just haven't made the adjustment.
Them barrels are on every road, aren't they?
Yeah, that Coolidge thing's been a mess.
Yeah.
Everywhere. It is kind of remarkable how long it's taken. But yes, so to start the update, last month our team joined Joan downtown to do a little walkabout. If you recall, the last downtown master plan opened with what's called a next steps assessment, where we looked at the building form, parking, circulation, streetscape throughout the downtown, and essentially recorded our observations, kind of looked at what's working, what needs work. And based on the observations that we made during this last visit, we're updating the assessment. So a little bit of summary on the update to the assessment. Of course, lots has happened in the downtown since then. We have quite a few new businesses. We've had a little bit of turnover here and there. We've got some major new projects. Of course, the ACE project has been transformative to that portion of downtown. But we also have Weiss and Sabbath. We've got 3 Cats. We've got a whole lot of stuff that's happened since the last plan that has kind of moved us further along toward our goals in some respects. In fact, for an 8-year period, we've made pretty remarkable progress toward where we wanted to be. There is, of course, always room for more. So really, building form was kind of the main place where we found a lot of change and a lot of positive change. In addition to the additions, we've also had some subtractions. And in particular, one of those subtractions was a long-time sore spot on one of the larger sites in downtown. We're talking about that former Burger King. That is now gone, and we are probably going to have a site plan coming in on it very soon, which is, it's big news. So things are moving on the building front. As for streetscape, it's largely the same as it was. We have had a little bit of additional activation in that alley in the southeast corridor or portion of the downtown. And that's largely thanks to the Weiss Sabbath project, which has really helped put some tables out there and get things moving in that space. And we've also, of course, got a sign for downtown Clawson there that didn't exist before. It's helping to establish that sense of place. And we look at parking. We have had, of course, a parking study done, so we've got a lot more information on it. One thing that we did this time when we were in those parking lots is we really actually measured some things out to see, okay, what do we have here? And in particular, in the northwestern public lot, we found that we have a lot of excessive maneuvering lane and could probably make some physical adjustments in that space to get more parking in that area, possibly significantly more. We're working on the geometry right now, but there may actually be some space to grab quite a bit of additional places for people to put their cars when they come downtown there, which was a little bit of a surprise, actually. We were pleasantly surprised when we started measuring and pacing things off that, wow, actually we could tighten this up a little bit and get more out of it. We do have roughly the same amount of parking as we did last time. And we are talking about, and this is going to be our focus next time, about some potential major changes to 14 Mile that could bring a lot more of it in. That is, of course, going to involve some interagency work. But again, that will be our focus at the next meeting in September. We're going to talk a lot about potential change to the configuration of 14 Mile.
What kind of change?
So we've been in talks with SEMCOG about possibly going to angled parking along 14 Mile.
Not back in, I hope.
Well, we don't have a design for it, but I've heard that comment multiple times, so probably not.
Only from anybody who's ever been to Royal Oak.
Yeah, Washington Street. But the idea is we would be reducing the number of travel lanes, but vastly increasing the supply of parking. And also, along with that, the sense that people on the sidewalks are separated from the traffic that's moving through on 14 Mile. Kind of an underrated aspect of that kind of reconfiguration is creating that greater separation and giving people that sense that they're further from the noise and speed of the traffic that's going by. So we'll actually have some kind of illustrations for you to look at next time about how that might work. And that will also extend into those parking lots. So that's really, we're going to be having a big discussion about that next time. And we think that we could almost double the amount of public space, or about double the amount of public spaces that are available.
That'll reduce the traffic of 18-wheelers even more as well.
Yes, there would be some knock-on effects
Even more,
like that
yeah.
as well. And, I imagine that we will, when we start talking about that in public input sessions, we'll probably get some pushback. And questions. So there are some things that we're going to have to be able to, speak articulately about and kind of emphasize the benefits there. I guess, it's always instructive to remember that, in the 1970s and 80s, Ferndale had 4 lanes of traffic going right through its downtown on 9 Mile, and probably nothing that's happened down there would have happened if they hadn't narrowed that road and constricted the flow of traffic straight through their downtown. And on that note, our assessment also found that circulation through the downtown area hasn't changed very much since 2015. There have been some pedestrian improvements with the signals, but otherwise, we're looking at pretty much the same movement of vehicles. Next topic of discussion is the downtown future land use map. I included it in the memo that we provided so that everyone can look at it. And you can see that it divides the downtown into a core fringe area, and then a core residential area. And the zoning map more or less mirrors that. Looking at this map, the first thing that I'm struck by, and I want your feedback on this, is that the ACE project has really transformed that primary Bowers, Main, 14, Florence block. And the last time we did this plan, the western end of that block was really kind of anticipated to mirror what's south of 14 Mile. But with the changes that have occurred on that block, I think that the city center district may ultimately make the most sense for the western end of that block as a continuation of the fabric that's already there now. Or eastern end of that block,
Yeah.
sorry. So that's definitely something to consider as far as a change to this map.
So the area between the ACE development and the condos
Exactly, yeah.
would be an area that could have greater development
Right.
by changing the
Yeah.
zoning map.
Right.
Future land use first.
And I've included the descriptions of the future land use categories that were here, just for your edification. If you weren't here that last time, or if you were here last time and just didn't remember, all got a lot going on. But the core residential area is essentially designed to be a transition zone where you may find some homes converting to businesses, or otherwise transitioning away from what they are currently. There's been very little of that that's actually happened, of course, but that's the idea there, to try to keep that character roughly the same, but allow things to happen organically over time. Other areas that I might point to as potential areas for study would be the area north of Jefferson, which was talked about pretty extensively last time, whether or not the core residential is still the right designation for that, or if that should be considered as a potential area for expansion of the footprint of the downtown core. And then the area over by the fire station too, whether or not, at least on the block that abuts 14 Mile and Main, whether or not we should consider just absorbing that entire block into the downtown core. It is apartments right now. They've just been renovated. They're probably not going anywhere anytime soon, but long term, if something were to happen to those buildings, I think we might want to have that core designation there as a way of making a smooth transition away from what's there now. I don't know if anyone's got any thoughts on any of that at the moment, but of course, I welcome it if you do.
I'd say that was a great plan. I don't see any downside to that. I think it would be to our advantage to seek that out, make it happen.
Okay.
I think we'll probably do another meeting like we did before, Joe, before we kick this off.
Yeah.
Us, a group, will meet and kind of go over things.
Yeah. And of course, we will ultimately have a workshop and we'll.
Right,
you know,
that's right. That's what we did before it.
Yeah, last time we really did have a pretty vigorous dialogue with the public and business owners and everybody who uses and lives near the downtown, which is how we arrived at that last map, of course. And it's also how we arrived at the building height recommendation from the last plan, which was 42 feet, 3 stories with a setback third story. It's led us to one very good project so far. We're hoping that it will soon lead us to another one. Some of the discussions we've had with folks looking at the PNC building have shown them actually trying to meet the 42-foot height limit and put 4 stories in there, as opposed to 3, which of course means a much lower ceiling height on the ground floor.
So will there be a sign, if you're taller than this, don't enter?
Yeah, I think of being John Malkovich, where they go to the 7.5 floor.
Wow.
But anyway, that is something that has been brought up by a couple of potential applicants. So I thought, well, it's been brought up by them. We'll bring it up here. Do we want to remove the 3-story restriction and just keep the height limit and see what happens, or are we looking
I
to
suppose
keep
that's
the
possible, isn't it? Just to have the height and only have 1 floor, potentially.
Potentially, you could do a 42-foot, 1-story building.
Wow, yeah.
You want, 9-foot ceilings on the first floor?
It's a legitimate question, because particularly if you have commercial uses on the ground floor, right? Generally speaking, people are
Yeah.
looking for higher ceiling heights than that. So are you potentially restricting your future clientele by having a much lower ceiling height on the ground floor? Because the other thing to think about is it's not just the floor to ceiling heights, it's also the space between the floors and ceilings, so you've got a couple extra feet there as well. These are people who were exploring the potential for a project, and they've got their pro formas. They're looking to see how they can maximize the site. So, the other thing to think about is, does the height limit go up a little bit? That was a major discussion last time. We landed on 42 feet, for a reason. We were thinking about the tall ground floor and then reasonable ceiling heights on the upper floors plus the space in between. That's how we wound up with 42 feet. I think the setback on the upper floor, we really introduced that as a way of making the third floor more palatable for people who originally would not consider the third floor. So I think that's something that probably needs to stay. But something to think about, do we want to toy with an increase in the height limit? Or are we looking to stay where we are, at least until the next time we talk about it? The other thing that's in the zoning ordinance right now is there is a requirement when a building fronts on 14 Mile or Main for there to be, if there's ground floor residential, for there to be a liner use along the major frontage. And I wondered if there was any interest in building a little bit more flexibility into that. For instance, if someone wanted to do walkout units on the ground floor, you'd still have that's a public interface with the building. It wouldn't be a commercial use. There's also the thought that if we do that, perhaps we don't do it on the main 4 blocks. If you're, between Bowers and 14 Mile facing Main, we want the commercial use there because that's really what that's for. But maybe if you're on the next block, it's a little less consequential. I think we do still want some active use on some portion of that ground floor. I don't think we want it to be all walkout units or something. But perhaps a bit more flexibility, because one thing that we found is that as people have tried to put together projects on these major sites that we've got, squeezing that liner use in there along the whole frontage has been a little bit less practical than we'd hoped. If they were able to use a portion of the frontage for a commercial use, and then the rest of it could be some other frontage that's more related to the residential use. It just gives us a little bit more versatility, and it's a little less of a block on potentially good projects. So that's another thing that we wanted to bring forward as a question for you all to think about. Which brings us to the final point in the memo, which is public input and next steps. So over the next couple months, we want to consider our priorities for public engagement on the downtown plan, because we are headed in that direction. The survey that just opened for the general master plan update is going to provide some useful information for our efforts here. We'll get you all links to that so you can spread them around. Any workshops that we hold with the public should occur after that survey is complete and the results are compiled, so that we can go through them with you and kind of let you know what we heard, and then that kind of gives us a little bit of a path toward where we go with our specific downtown plan input. And we've got a couple other sources of input from the last several years too that we're going to fold into that when we report it to you. And as I said earlier, at our next meeting, we're going to be focusing on that circulation and parking. We're going to be looking at 14 Mile and its cross-section. One thing that's been discussed as we've looked at the PNC site with potential applicants is the possibility of it widens to 2 lanes when you get to that block, the possibility of continuing street parking on that block to get just probably 9 more spaces, but it's something, right? We will also have the full draft of the updated assessment available sometime between now and that meeting for you all to look at and provide your feedback on. So if anyone has any questions or just comments or thoughts, very happy to
I have
hear
one.
them. Sure.
I know we talked about it when we were walking around downtown, but if there's any thoughts on that transition between Broadacre and 14 Mile, how the lanes
Oh,
constrict,
yeah.
and then the right turn lane, that's a mess, and something better could be done there.
Yes, we will be talking about that next time when we look at circulation, how we might be able to change that.
Yeah, we found that road rage is a real thing.
Yes, yeah, just making it a little less confounding.
Going south on Main, where it comes down.
Oh, yeah.
It's surprising to people, and also, I've stood there and just watched before, and people who do know what's coming, if they're behind someone who they think is a little bit slow, they get into that right lane, and they just gun it when the light out here turns green, and there's a race to get to the constriction point to get into the lane that goes through. So I think it's had maybe a bit of a, it's created a perverse incentive to speed.
Yeah.
Just because of the strange configuration there. I think we can do better in that spot, and
Yeah, I think so.
we just have to figure out a cost-effective way to do better, and what that actually looks like.
We can do
But,
better with the left turns and right turns allowed at the, it makes it very difficult for a pedestrian.
Sure, yeah.
Sure does.
That whenever we've been outside doing an event and standing on the corner, we've seen many times where there's so close to a conflict because people are making a right turn, they're forgetting that a left turn is allowed towards them, and then a pedestrian gets in the mix, and
Which is a real concern.
yeah.
Right.
Do we think if we are going to consider that angled parking on 14 Mile, that reduced width would benefit pedestrians, or is there
Yes,
some,
if you brought the curb out, it definitely would. You'd
Because
have,
that's part of the problem. It's a
They'd have less
very long
room.
crosswalk, so
Right.
you've got to book it across
Yeah.
and dodge all the turning cars.
you'd have
Right.
less distance to cover. The other thing that you can look at there is signal programming, and that has to be coordinated, of course, between the city and the county,
Right.
and SEMCOG. But the way the signal works, we tend to program them for vehicle throughput. But when you do have a high pedestrian area, sometimes it's a little more safe to program them differently, where you don't have right turns on red, for instance. You might get a right turn arrow when people are turning on the other street, making their lefts on the other street, because a pedestrian can't cross then anyway. But
Then you'd have dedicated pedestrian time where nobody else is moving, right?
Right,
'Cause
exactly.
I think that would
yeah.
be,
You can have leading pedestrian time that gets people halfway across the intersection before they're dealing with anybody crossing. So there are definitely ways that light programming can help with the safety situation there. Even if there is no configuration, that's something that you could potentially look at.
We brought that up with SEMCOG in our meetings before. So
Yeah.
it will stay on the table until something comes up better.
With regard to the northeast expansion that you were alluding to along Bowers there, would that be on the south side of Bowers, or would that be also including the north side where all the houses are?
South side of Bowers.
Only the south side?
Yeah, well, that was my thought anyway.
Because that's really where the business is, not the residential.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, okay.
Just taking a few notes here. Okay. Anything else? All right, thank you.
Thanks for getting up early.
Thank you for joining us. Do you need directions to get home?
No. I'll be going to our office in Birmingham anyway, but, yeah, the Coolidge, project hopefully will be done soon.
Thanks, Joe.
You know what, Joe, I got one,
Sure.
comment. We have, residents in the next 30 days or so. And I'm not totally sure what impact that's gonna have on, parking and traffic flow and stuff like that. So I know we're not like presenting any of this for, approval anytime soon, but, I think that, we want to definitely have some discussions after that to see,
Sure.
what kind of effect that has, right, in our area.
Yeah, with increasing parking on 14 Mile Road especially, putting angled parking on there.
Well,
boy, that's
we're in
gonna-
favor of that for sure.
Yeah, that's really going to improve.
All right, yeah, that's a good point. No, I think that some observation over the following months actually makes a
Yeah,
lot of sense.
a month or so.
Sure. See how people kind of adjust their habits and things.
And I don't know what kind of demand and traffic some of these businesses are gonna have when they open up.
Sure.
So it could be significant. I don't know. We'll see.
Sure. Thanks.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Joe.
So we need another award-winning plan, Joe.
Yeah.
Joan?
Yes. Okay. As far as downtown businesses, sadly, Grand River Brewery is still waiting for Michigan Liquor Control Commission to issue licensing. They are just taking forever. We did welcome 2 new businesses to the downtown at 247 East 14 Mile, which was the former Hart and Harlow Salon. There is now Maida Hair Salon. At 145 East 14 Mile, Exclusive Nails is a new business in the Ace development. So
Are they open?
I'd say within 2 weeks.
their signage is up. So the name of the new Irish pub at 38 South Main is going to be Gus's Snug Irish Pub.
Give me what?
Gus's Snug.
Gus is Snug. Oh, cute.
Yeah. So they hope to open in September or October. And they have temporary signage up on the windows right now. So it looks very nice. Looking forward to it. The owner just came back from Ireland, did a little buying trip and looking at ideas, and he said they came back with some really great ideas. So I'm looking forward to see the inside. As Joe mentioned, the Burger King site, we have met with the development team. We've met with the architects and owners several times, and we do anticipate a site plan soon. So until that happens, we won't say more, but it looks like there's going to be a development there that we can be real happy with. 29 South Main is now available for lease, so if anyone is looking for retail space there.
What used to be, what was that?
The other half of
The other half of
the
our
university half of the knit store. They've just gone down to the retail end. And they can hold all their classes and have their special social things at the different restaurants, which they've been doing, so that works out quite nicely anyway. The same commercial construction projects are continuing in and around the city. Nothing finished yet, but continuing, so that's nice. And I won't name them off. They're the same as they were before, and they'll be in the newsletter. As far as Main Street, our 2024 tech visit is for the update of the master plan. We just got our update on that, so that's moving along. As far as the 14 Mile, the road, and we did have a committee meet on that before to talk about potential changes to the road, how we could increase parking. We did start meetings with SEMCOG kind of during COVID. I remember the whole room was filled with people with masks on. And then things just kind of, as there was a lot of change in the city and a lot of different things going on, it kind of fell to the side for a little while. But I have been back in contact with SEMCOG and said, hey, we had one kickoff meeting again a few months ago. And I contacted them again 2 weeks ago, and it's like, let's keep this train going. So for those of you who are on that committee and meeting with them, I'm just trying to get an answer from them to give us another date. And we got them in so that we could talk about any and all solutions to more parking. Whatever that may be, we were open to all ideas, not closed on, one single thing. Although we would really like to explore narrowing, closing down a lane of traffic and getting angle parking in, which would automatically pretty much double our parking situation, which is a real nice solution since we don't have a place to put up a major high-rise of parking lot. It would be much nicer to have, and an easier solution, if it will work, to get angle parking in there. So we'll see. Again, that is all up for discussion. And again, we told SEMCOG we are open to any and all solutions. So we'll get another meeting going and keep that moving forward. On grant follow-ups, we're still waiting. The crossing signal at East 14 and Florence is still delayed while repair is completed to the signal base in the island. So when they get around to it, Oakland County will fix that, and then we can get the new signals up.
Have they given an estimated time
No.
of arrival, so
No,
to speak?
no.
It's been going on.
I know. Well,
I don't
yeah.
want to see it
Well,
disappear.
We finally got the signal work back on track to get it done, and then Oakland County came out and looked at that one signal in the pedestrian island, and that's when things slowed again because they saw the damage to it.
Yeah.
So had we known that, this many months ago, they could have gotten it done, but, so, as soon as that's done, and that signal work can even be done during the winter, it's not something that has to
Right.
be done during the summer months, so it will get done, still working on it. The modifications to the alley heart artwork, I believe, Dennis, are complete. So we're going to coordinate getting that installed. So that is one of those grant things that's just hanging out there, and we'll be able to get that done soon. And that's about it. On the other news, our Facebook still remains down. So we really miss having that avenue to communicate with people, and Facebook has just been not real helpful.
Yeah, that's been real disappointing. I don't understand why
That
it's
has
taken
been
so
since
long
July
to repair
3rd.
their error.
We did get you should notice on we did get the credit from Facebook for the fraudulent ads that were on.
Fine.
There were 4 charges of $250 that were finally taken off. They recognized that was wrong, but they took our site down because of content. There was some content on there that we didn't put on. That was the hacked content. And we got them to recognize that the ads were fraudulent, and they credited that, but they haven't taken care of the content problem. Therefore, we still can't post.
It's crazy,
So
crazy.
every time I send them a detailed email about what occurred, and they send that, the last time they sent that right back to me and said, basically, correct. Well, no. Yeah, I know I'm correct. Let's fix it. And we're still not there. So anyway, that remains ongoing. And that's it for me.
Any questions for Joan? Thank you very much. City manager report.
Nothing this morning.
Didn't you want to get your congratulations and joy about our budget?
More or less your guys' but yes.
A couple weeks ago, we had our former finance director leave the city, and we are having Mark Pollock join the staff again for a temporary basis. That doesn't have an end date set. We want him to come back and kind of get things going and continue having the city go in the right direction. So he'll be joining us for temporary without an end date for now. And so I know you guys had your financial report, and it sounded like before the meeting there was some happiness there. So I know
There
we're all
was great
excited.
joy in dancing in the streets.
I know we're excited to have
It has
Mark
already
back.
made my life easier, so thank you to Mark for coming back.
Yeah, we're definitely grateful to have him. So thank you all.
Thank you very much. Okay, project committees, events and Dine Clausen, sir.
All right. Coming up to the final days right before Clausen Fest. We are still looking for volunteers for the street team. That's something that we need probably as many people as we can get. It'll help out. I think we have 13 altogether, not including myself and then 2 Sean's. 90-some vendors, so it's going to be a really good event. Pretty much most of the all the restaurants are Clawson-based restaurants, so that's great to see that. And we have a lot of local vendors that are also based out of Clawson. So looking forward to seeing this great event kind of jump off. Other than that, successful cinema in the streets. Very good turnout, I think, for rescheduling and having that. Yeah, other than that, we've been good.
Charlie, on the volunteers for Clausen Fest,
Yeah.
what kind of shifts are you looking for, and how do they sign up?
So you can sign up
What will
on.
they be doing?
So you can sign up online. It'll be things along the lines of taking trash out during the festival. Some of them will be kind of monitoring parking lots, so guiding people on where to park, what areas are not open for parking. So kind of by Dario and Laundry Palace, Michael's, and Woodpile and Tavern, kind of saying that, hey, these parking lots are for their customers, guiding people to the other parking lots that we have. The shifts, I believe we're trying to do 2-hour intervals. I mean, obviously, if we have a shortage, people can do 2 to 4 to 6 hours if they want. Trying not to burn anybody out.
And the event is 2 to 8.
Yeah, 2 to 8. And then set up as well. So if you're in the early, setting up, making sure vendors know where to go, helping them set up tents and that nature. So I think in the morning it'll be a little bit more influx of everybody, and then kind of level out midday, people to monitor the event. And then kind of the later night close down team. So
Is the street closing down all day?
it's going to be at 10 a.m. It's going to close down and be closed till 10 p.m. And thank you to Clausen PD and Clausen DPW, because they're going to help us out get all that rolling. Had a good conversation with them last night, so we're in good shape.
Terrific.
Yeah.
Okay, do we have any news on the alley?
I think go ahead. Oh, Dennis, you got something?
You covered it, so. we're good.
Oh, okay. Maybe you and Jeff and I can talk after the meeting and figure out a date
Okay.
to get it in.
Excellent. Landscape and streetscape.
Anything
new?
Nothing new. Those planters, the new ones with the reservoir in them, are working out really well, and the flowers look great. So again, our thanks to Carol McLean and Kathy Phillips for purchasing the flowers, going out and doing the buying for us and planting them, and monitoring the water in those to make sure that those plants live. So, and we're going to look at some other sites, maybe look at the budget and see if we can't find some other places that we can use those planters.
I think Kathy Phillips is probably our best former board member of all time.
Yeah,
It's almost like she's still here.
I know.
Anything else on the streetscape? Okay, let's consider adopting the 23 to 24 work plan, the goals.
Yeah, we talked about it last meeting, but then we didn't adopt it, so
I'll make a motion to adopt the work plan 23-24.
Is there a second for that motion?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Fabulous.
What's the plan with that? Like, are we meeting to talk about that, or like
for what, Dennis?
for the goals? Like,
Yeah, well, the goals are there, and now we need to look at, on the committee level and subcommittee level, how do we want to accomplish those, and who wants to take on,
okay.
tasks. So we can talk after this, when we talk about the alley, and see if there's, because I know we talked about marketing, and that's something that we need to kind of get a plan on, so.
Yeah, I built some stuff out. I don't know when you want me to share it or bring it up, but it can be refined, but got some ideas written down and
Good.
some pretty inexpensive stuff we can do. So.
Yeah. Charlie had mentioned that you maybe had some, and I've got some material here to give you, so we can sit down as a quick little subcommittee and figure out the bullet points and what we want to do, because we need a plan for it.
Yep, sounds good.
Cool.
Okay. Board comment. I do have some exciting news. We've talked to Scott Brown from Zioli's about joining our board. Paula, could you tell me how the board appointments work now?
Board appointments probably work the way they always have, which is the mayor appoints, council city council confirms. So we're in the process of reviewing board. We put a bunch through last night. I have a few more to look at. There's going to be some changes in some of the boards and commissions just to ensure we have, the best, most positive, encouraging, helpful people serving. So you'll see some things coming up in the near future. I wanted to talk about, for board comments, during the last meeting, under your goals, I mentioned that I thought it would be helpful to have some sort of a survey to the DDA, and it came with no interest, it seemed, maybe a little bit of a disdain to bring something like that up. But if there's no interest in this body, then I'm just going to suggest that I take it to City Council and see if they can come up with something, or we can task the city manager with doing something like that. And I guess if we don't, doesn't have to stick just to the DDA area, perhaps we reach out to other businesses as well. But I think that's something that's really critical to just ensure that people are feeling engaged and part of something that they're paying for, if nothing else. And this isn't a criticism, because clearly there's some really great things that happen, but in dialogue you get different ideas and different opportunities, and that's what I'm trying to kind of help foster. So I'm just, I guess I'm just here to tell you that. Thanks for at least hearing me out last time, but I'll just take it before City Council, and if
I thought-
Paula,
council
perhaps you'd like
approves,
to
we will do that.
lead a committee through this board to
I-
put together a questionnaire like that.
I do believe I offered to do that last week, and it just moved on, so.
You said that you were going to talk after the meeting. You didn't want to say things during the meeting, and
No, what I said was, I will not state names of businesses or business owners who perhaps have some disconnect with this board or the DDA, because I don't think that's professional. And I think if anyone here wanted to think about it, they could probably come up with a list on their own. And that's not my goal. My goal is not finding polarizing entities and then jumping on a bandwagon with them. My goal is to do what I try to do everywhere, which is bring people together and find ways and opportunities that perhaps haven't been tried, or maybe even haven't been tried recently, that might engage people to want to be more active and feel more part of and to grow something. So I think I'm fine taking it to City Council and let the city manager task it. They have staff. Maybe we could use a survey kit like we've done in the past. And maybe even, Nick, they do, Joe, you do surveys for us all the time, right? You've done them in different entities. You've done them through planning. You've done them through the DDA. Perhaps it would be through you. And I'm just talking out loud. I don't know what the plan is. I just feel like it's really important, and I'd really like to see it happen. So I have no problem taking it from, not tasking the DDA with it. You guys have a lot. If it's not an interest, I don't want you guys doing it. Or I don't want us doing it, because I keep saying like I'm not part of this board. I'm part of this board as well. I just feel like it's critical. I spent Saturday at the Lions Car Show, which I saw so many people and heard more stories. And I want to bring people together. That's all I can say.
So just to get more clarification for me, I wasn't here last week. Is your goal, so we have the survey that I think the planners will put out for the master plan as far as like vision and things with the district. Is your goal to look more at event and like partnership interactions within the district?
Yes.
Or
yes.
is it like, how
Event-
happy are you with where we're at, or?
All
what?
of those things, basically, just all of those things. And it doesn't even have to be huge. It could just be, are you engaged? Would you like to be engaged? What are your past experiences? What can we do better? Just simple things like that.
It could be something that's sort of, so like, if we're talking just within the TIF district, one of the focuses could be something like, I know we already have like a Facebook group and an email group with those, with as many members as have joined over time, but it could be like partnered with a campaign to make sure that our books, so to speak, are up to date, right? Like to make sure that, everybody has had the opportunity to join those groups, and then it could be a survey that sort of functions within that platform.
Sure.
Would that be appropriate?
the DDA Facebook group for businesses worked really well and allowed conversations to happen, that it was a closed group, so just the business owners were able to talk to each other. I could contact, and I could reach out to them with quick things and grant opportunities and things that I wanted them to know. And you can do that quickly and not wait for a monthly newsletter or things. So
And then I think.
waiting for that to get back up again. We used that extensively during COVID, back and forth all the time with all of the edicts
Mandate,
and
yeah,
the
changes.
opportunities and everything that came up.
But then just to bridge it ahead, we were looking at the new, that new computer program, right?
Right.
Updating all those contacts, like this all sort of works together where it could be something feasible, we can put a plan together. I don't know that, I mean, I think that it just will take a little bit of back work to make it happen. So it's not like, oh yeah, we'll send out a Survey Monkey next month, but like putting that maybe in our project goals to like solidify our plan, because we've already got some back work in motion to do this new, what's that program called? I don't remember what it's called. It's like I keep wanting to say business development, or like, it's not, it's,
Sorry, I'm drawing a blank on their name right now.
It's
not
intended to
Unit.
manage all of the business, like the property information and the ownership information and the people, like all in one, it's like a hub, but like an internal hub. So I
Right.
think like that.
Which we do on a
work
different
needs-
platform right now, but we're
Yeah,
changing
this was
over
a
this
much
other
more
one. And so it is all about getting a continuous communication, so.
Right, but I
and
think if we
and it
connect
will
some
help, 'cause
dots,
some
like
people are
this
not
all
on Facebook, so.
works together that, I mean, we can include, well, while we build that infrastructure over the next few months, building in an internal, like, checkpoint, whether it's a yearly survey or, because that will change over time, right? I think there's a lot of opportunity there to do something like that. And then maybe we just need to document that in, like, our strategies and work plans.
So I think that goes right
to.
to our marketing strategy. So it's marketing with the people in the district, and then we also have marketing for outside, for making people aware of the district. So there's two different kind of avenues there under marketing strategies.
So one of the things that I've been finding, just kind of heading up Dine Clausen, I have pretty much, I think it's about 22 email addresses that I'll send out emails and communications about the events that we run and whatnot. Participation on the calls usually is 3 cats. It used to be Grant when Grant was with Lucky Duck, and Piper from Weiss, and that's about the only 3 people that show up on any calls, which then makes me have to go hunt people down. So I literally walk to every restaurant, walk in, go, hey, have you heard about the event? What have we been doing? There is definitely a breakdown on like communication and or participation in that, because I also hear the when it was the open air spring fair, we had a lot of people that were upset about having food trucks there. I opened up a phone call for anybody to kind of express their worries, concerns, whatever. Had data to back up, like Berkeley's success with bringing food trucks into the downtown area and Ferndale's success with bringing food trucks into the area, to kind of ease everybody's mind. And again, the only person that I had on the call, I think, in that one was a couple representatives from 3 cats, and then Piper, and then Joan, obviously. But like, we put it out there to have the communication. It's available. I give my cell phone out to everybody. I tell them to call me all the time. Jen from Renshaw texted me the other day of like, where do I get cups from? I've sent the email out multiple times. So, I was like, hey, no worries. I got them here. This is what you can do. Here's all the different ways you can get them. But I think there is a breakdown on the communication side of, is it through email? Is it a phone list? Is it the meetings are public? Can you come to the meetings if you have that?
And
In
all
my
of-
many years on this board, the number of ways we have tried to reach out to the different businesses, which has been in person, by email, by phone, by Facebook, by all different things, we have always had a very dicey response. I'm happy to try it again, but one of the things that I've noticed is we send out the questionnaires, we ask the questions. People don't necessarily respond to the questions or give us a way to deal with them. This is just a general thing. I'm not talking specifics. But then I hear, like we did from you, well, these people are upset, but we don't know who they are or what the problem is, because we're always happy to address it. So we're happy to do another questionnaire under any platform. And we would love to get, I mean, one of our goals as a board has always been to get the downtown adjacent businesses in, because our downtown is so small that whenever we do an event, we'd like to see the people from down to Crooks Road, and all the way over to Rochester, joining us. And it has been a real struggle, because before you were mayor, we've been through this many times. We're happy to do it again.
Yeah, I'm not saying that, I know for a fact you will not get everyone to engage. If you come up with 3 new people to help support activities, that's 3 people to help support activities. And if you can shut down some of the conversations that says this is a board that is extremely selective in whom they deal with and only want to deal with certain people, a contact will eliminate that right off the bat, right? We tried, we offered, and then therefore there's your defense. Their defense is gone. The idea is just to engage at whatever level that you can. If you have success, you have success. If you have no success, then you go away and you come back and try it in a different way. Some people respond to Facebook. Some people aren't on Facebook. Some people respond to phone calls. Some people you're going to have to go in and knock and
Paula,
grab their shoulders.
How about
It's all of those things.
if you give us some ideas of what you'd like to see on the questionnaire, we'll put it together and we will send it by mail, by Facebook, and by email, and see what kind of responses we get.
Could you secure a juggler as well? And then maybe that would be a great plan.
I don't know, my juggler was on Access Hollywood yesterday, so it's hard to say whether she'll have any time.
I was just giving you another plug for that. Okay, thank you very much.
But we're happy to reach out to everybody. I just want to mention that it's not something we've never done or are in any way.
I was not even implying that it was never done. I was just trying to state that it is a good opportunity, and if you don't start somewhere, you don't have anything to start with. Just trying to open up doors and connect people. That's all. That's the whole part of it. It's not going to be that much work, and if there's a reward from it, then there's a reward from it. And what better thing? There are underrepresented sectors in our DDA that aren't part of anything. And you guys work off of a formula thing of what has worked in the past, and
Well,
you do an
I do
exceptional job. You do an exceptional job at what you do. But there are people who don't feel connected. And if you connect people, it just opens up the opportunities, and that's what I'm trying to do.
I
So-
do walk the downtown, stop in at businesses regularly. You can't always catch an owner there, leave a card, walk on, and try to connect with everybody. It's very difficult, and getting people engaged, I wish it was so much easier. Even going back to the times where we did the fully stuffed scarecrows, all we asked for was no money, but please give us clothes to put on that has your logo on it so that we can advertise your business. First time, yes, that's a great idea. Thank you. I'll bring those in. Second time, oh, I forgot. Third time you walk in, you see the owner and he goes, oh. So it's not that we aren't reaching out to people. These are a lot small businesses that don't have time, a lot of times, to do the extra thing or remember that they were going to do that. So it's a struggle with small business owners to keep them, to get them, to pull them away from their job, get them out of the kitchen, get them out of the cooler where they're working or off the floor, and, just to have a conversation. How you doing? But I do attempt it. So-
Yeah, I know you do, and I feel like
Anyway.
this is a criticism. This was not at all a criticism. It was an area for opportunity. I would hope we would just want to take an area for opportunity and just see what can be done a little differently, or again, to provide perhaps a better outcome. That was all.
Well, I
Thank
think
you.
that this board could promise to send out a questionnaire on all available platforms, but we'd appreciate your input so we know the questions that you see that we need to ask, and we'll add our own and try to get it out before the next meeting. Thank you. Do we have any comment from the public?
Hello again.
Hi again.
Nice to see you after a month. About a month ago, I came in. My name's Carson from Glowpath Pavers. I am a
Last name, Carson,
Davis.
please.
My name's Carson Davis from Glowpath Paver. I'm a Clawson resident. Been here my whole life. I love it here. About a month ago, I came in here, I started talking about hardscape and streetscape in the DDA master plan. And I am today made an unsolicited proposal for the DDA and city management to increase foot traffic to targeted parts of downtown by using wayfinding as a strategy. The same thing big box stores use to, use to navigate you through their store. They put the milk in the back. They get you to walk through that store. We can accomplish that same thing with a glowing effect through the city of downtown Clawson at night. Can I hand these off?
Sure, sure.
Can I poach? You are.
Thank you.
And I have those samples to return to you.
Okay.
I'm sure you need those or.
Oh,
wanna
those
use
were to
them?
keep. Those
Oh,
were to
okay,
keep.
Okay, okay.
So
Thank you very much.
Thank you, and there's a little rendering of the downtown right on the front cover with the clock. Of course, we had to get the clock in there. But thank you.
Thank you.
Perfect, thank you for. Anyone else have anything? Okay, do I have a move to adjourn?
I would make that motion.
Is there a second?
I will second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, everybody. See you next month.
Man, I couldn't find those the other night, those 12 minutes, just
It's kind of fun looking.
everything I get here and it's here. High in the world when I, damn it. Because this really helps me.
This whole discussion, you may have to listen.
Okay,
That's great.
She's apparently one of
Yeah.
them on that,
Well-
'cause I tried to.
yeah.